have a guest panelist with us today, but before we introduce them, hi everyone, I'm Allison Gwynn.
I'm Amelia Cormack.
And this is Some Dark Holler.
I'd rather be in some dark holler where the sun refused to shine than for you to be another man's woman, never on earth to call you mine.
Hooray!
Hooray!
So we have a guest panelist with us, and she wishes to remain anonymous. She has some controversial things to say, which she might say at any moment.
Yes, true.
Because she is very candid. She is also 5 months old.
Yep. So there may be noises in the background. We don't know. We're going to see how long she lets us record today.
So our anonymous panelist might pipe in every once in a while with their opinion.
She was very well behaved last week. We got through the entire episode. But
she has something to say about this one.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
Before we get into it, I just wanted to thank everyone who reached out and said that they listened to the episode 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And I really, really appreciated it. And I was very humbled by the feedback that we got.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks everybody for letting us all know that we're not alone.
Yeah.
We're not.
Nope.
We're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, this one might be a two-parter again.
Ooh, I love a two-parter.
Ooh, I don't know when to stop with the research. So, let's just get into it before our panelist has something to say. When people think of folk music, they think of the boom that occurred in the late 50s and early 60s. Isn't that right? She does.
That was me wheezing with laughter.
That's what the baby thought, yeah. When people think of folk music, they think of the boom that occurred in the late 50s and early 1960s. And the ballad that we are covering in this episode is known to have been the cause for that big folk boom.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. In 1958, the Kingston Trio, a group of clean-cut, unhip, so square they had corners, clear enunciating boys, made the Billboard #1 with their version of the murder ballad, Tom Dooley. This particular version started with a monologue.
Oh.
Mm-hmm, which I will do a dramatic reading of now.
Okay.
Okay.
We're ready. Yes, you're ready too.
Yeah. Throughout history, there have been many songs written about the eternal triangle.
Oh.
This next one tells the story of Mr. Grayson, a beautiful woman, and a condemned man named Tom Dooley. When the sun rises tomorrow, Tom Dooley must hang.
Goodness.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'll have you know that almost 90% of this monologue is factually false. Yeah.
That's a hefty amount.
Just not true. Perhaps the most famous murder ballad in its most famous form pities the murderer, and Tom Dooley gets a heroic legacy as a scorned lover that he simply didn't earn. And we're going to learn the real story and scandal that is behind it all. First, I'll cite my sources to be the following books. The True Story of Tom Dooley by John Edward Fletcher, Ph.D., Unprepared to Die by Paul Slade, and the salacious The Ballad of Tom Dooley by John Foster West. But first, before we get into the story, Amelia and I are going to sing the very first collected version of this song, which was collected in 1943 by Calvin Triplett, but, quote, was very popular in the hills of Wilkes, Alexander, and Caldwell counties in 1867, and many mountain balladeers still sing it.
Okay, cool.
So, there's a caveat. We're going to sing the original lyrics to this song. It was set to a tune that was very, very racist. The original tune that this Tom Dooley was set to was very racist. And so, hi there, editing Allison, coming in to say, I do realize a tune itself cannot be racist, but the original lyrics to this tune was very racist. So I chose not to use even the melody of this song, that its lyrics were originally racist, that were later replaced with the lyrics of Tom Dooley. Okay, thank you. Regular recording Allison, continue. I chose not to use that melody and make up one of my own because it made me feel weird to even sing the melody of this tune. So, we're singing the original lyrics to Tom Dooley to some made-up melody that I came up with.
Because she's brilliant.
Because I don't like racism, so here we go. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, hang down your head and cry. You killed poor Laura Foster, and now you're bound to die, I said, and now you're bound to die. You met her on a hilltop, as God Almighty knows. You met her on a hilltop, and there you hid her clothes, I said, and there you hid her clothes. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, hang down your head and cry. You killed poor Laura Foster, and now you're bound to die, I said, and now you're bound to die. You met her on a hilltop, you said she'd be your wife. You met her on a hilltop, and there you took her life, I said, and there you took her life. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, hang down your head and cry. You killed poor Laura Foster, and now you're bound to die, I said, and now you're bound to die one more time, and now you're bound to die. All right, so that was that. Yes, short, sweet, and to the point.
Did we do it well enough for your liking?
I think she liked it.
That was a ringing endorsement.
We got a hiccup in agreement. Yes, my friends, I need you to get your emotional support person and your medic alert necklace because we're going back to North Carolina.
There we go.
Yes.
Our favorite place to tell stories
the
from.
Scariest place on earth, it seems. The scariest, most musical place on earth. Yes. So, this time we're going very close to my birthplace of Johnson City, Tennessee. And it is so far east North Carolina that it's almost Tennessee. Oh. A place called Elksville, North Carolina, Wilkes County, also known as Happy Valley.
Oh,
which is
like the TV show.
Which is ironic considering the tale we're about to tell.
Oh.
So, are you ready, guest panelist? Let's go back in our time machines to the Civil War. Cue the Ken Burns Ashokan Farewell to play underscoring me.
Oh.
Go ahead, I'll wait. Got it?
Yep.
Okay. The New York Herald says, the people of Happy Valley were divided into two classes. The rich educated, and the living on the spurs and ridges of the mountains is the ignorant, poor, and depraved. A state of immorality unexampled in history of any country exists among these people, and a general system of free loveism prevails.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
Jibbus.
All right.
I haven't seen a massacre of Southern people's characters this bad since...
Yeah, I was going to say.
Hillbilly Elegy, let's say.
Oh, topical.
Hot take, hot take. It seems to be the horrible opinion of Appalachian people that we have been trying to, for years and years, to correct, but this particular story doesn't seem to help us out in any way in that.
Yeah.
So, thanks a lot, Hillbilly Elegy, The Wild Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, the movie Deliverance, and the story and song of Tom Dooley for making us Appalachians look terrible.
What's that second one? I haven't heard of that.
The Wild Wonderful Whites of West Virginia?
No.
It is a documentary of a family that live in West Virginia, and they're just the most horrible... Well, they're just the worst example of Appalachian stereotype that you can think of. Like...
Yeah, because I was like, I know the other ones, but that one
It's called The Wild Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, if you just want to dive into that interesting, terrible world. So yes, these are horrible examples of Appalachian people and are not the norm of Appalachian people in any way. One might say, because these stories are so shocking and salacious, they grew in infamy, and that's why they are so popular. In fact, if a murder ballad deserved a Jerry Springer episode, it would be this one. So hold on, folks. This one should, once again, be sponsored by Planned Parenthood with the motto, have a better plan than this. Tom Dula, spelled D-U-L-A, was born in 1844 near Elk Creek in Wilkes County, North Carolina. Now, Amelia, I know what you're thinking. Dula? Did he bring babies into the world? No. Author Paul Slade has an answer for you. He says, like any family thereabouts, if your surname ended in A, the local dialect pronounced it with a long E sound. Et voila, Dooley. As someone who grew up with this dialect, I can attest that, yes, this could be true.
The opposite of Missouri becoming Missouri.
Missouri. It's Missouri. Yes. In school, we were told Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
That happens in Australia as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
We have that in common.
Yep.
So there was a place up in the mountains called Sciota. How do you think that is? Sciota.
Oh. Well, it depends. I don't know. This is me being wanky. Like in Italian.
So phonetically, you'd be like
Shoda or
yes,
Sciota.
or Sciota. It's pronounced where we're from, Sciothe.
Oh,
Sciothe.
Sciothe. I didn't even think
something that phonetically looks like Sciota.
No
idea.
I have one. There is a suburb in Australia near the airport that it comes from the French name for Frederick the Great's palace in Berlin. In French, it's pronounced sans souci, which means without suspicion. In Sydney, it's pronounced sans Susie.
Sans Susie. I love it.
Those sucking sounds you're hearing are my daughter sucking on my finger.
That is perfectly fine.
So I apologize for the background noise.
So yes, that is a deep dive into dialects.
There we go.
Although it's less prevalent in today's Southern Appalachian dialects, earlier natives were known to pronounce things like this. Living near the Dula family, were the Fosters. Now, get ready for a lot of Fosters in this story.
Okay. Not the beer.
Not the beer.
Not the Australian beer.
Fosters.
Not the Australian beer, which is one of the worst. Drink any other Australian beer but that one.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, sadly, not that.
Yeah.
And sadly, true to the horrible stereotype, everyone in this story seems related somehow.
Right.
Okay. So, we start with Lottie Foster. Now, she had 5 children and lived near the Dulas. Lottie and her kids were described as illiterate, and Lottie, according to Paul Slade, was an easy lay and a drunk. Surely there was a better way of saying that, Mr. Slade, but there it is.
It still blows my mind that there was a time when people thought that that was okay.
And not long ago.
No.
So it gets worse. Perhaps to get away from her mother's shenanigans, Lottie's daughter, Anne Foster, married at 15 to a local farmer named James Melton. Now, James was 6 years her senior, which was contrary to lots of myths that he was old and infirm at the time of his marriage to Anne.
Okay.
So, in Anne's childhood, which was short considering she married at 15, she had had a previous romance with her neighbor, Tom Dula.
Oh.
In 1861, Melton enlisted in the Confederate Army, leaving his new bride, Anne, and their newborn daughter behind. And while Melton was away, Lottie caught her daughter, Anne, and Tom in bed together.
Oh.
So Lottie is quoted to have said, quote, "He jumped out and got under the bed. I ordered him out, and he had his clothes off."
Oh,
End quote. Oh, man. So later in May, in 1862, North Carolina officially secedes from the Union, and Tom Dula and his 2 older brothers join the Army. So Tom also goes to the war. Tom was a fiddle player.
Oh.
Yeah. And so he became the drummer leading the charges of Company K of North Carolina's 42nd Regiment. In 1865, he was taken prisoner by the Union Army. The war ended a month after his capture, but he was not released until June 11th. Now, his appearance was recorded at the POW camp as 5 foot 9 inches, dark brown curly hair, and brown eyes. And his fellow soldiers described him as a dark and moody fellow.
Okay.
So, after coming home from the war to Happy Valley in June of 1865, Tom and Anne continued their romantic relationship right under the nose of Anne's husband, James Melton.
Oh!
Yes.
Okay.
Now, James was either incredibly blind, or he didn't care that his wife was sleeping with Tom. We'll get into that a little later.
Okay.
So, author John Foster West suggests, once again, not very nicely, that Anne was the type of person that usually got her way, describing her as a unique character possessing almost all the faults one woman could have. In addition to promiscuity, she was temperamental, demanding, and aggressive.
And Tom was, I'm sorry, how was he described?
Dark and moody.
That's so mad.
Yeah. So, this might be skewed a little, but she was also described to be quite beautiful and knew how to use her feminine wiles to get what she wanted. Now, I don't know if there's any validity into this author's description of her being this tempting she-devil that male authors typically like to use, but that's what we have.
But also, it's just the fact that the woman gets described like that, and the other party, the man, who is participating in the infidelity, is not described like that.
Right. He's a handsome devil that plays the fiddle and is dark and moody.
Also, can we talk about the fact that just because he played the fiddle, he played drums in the army?
You probably got rhythm. Go, play this drum.
That's funny.
Okay.
I mean, the irony being, I myself, in an active musician show, I'm playing. Well, I'm not playing violin in that show actually, but I play some percussion instruments in it. Just I'll have a go at a drum.
Yeah, just give it a go.
You know,
can keep.
I should not be
time.
I should not be casting stones.
Desperate times call for
Listen.
desperate drumming measures. So, something was in the air in March of 1866 that brought forth 2 people into this love triangle. Mm-hmm. So, now we're making it a love hexagon?
Square?
That's 5.
Hexagon is 6. Pentagon.
Pentagon. We're going to the pentagon. It's a love pentagon. Okay. So.
Wait, so we've got
Tom. Tom Dula
James.
and James Melton.
She's like, Mom, why you haven't been keeping track?
Mom. So we've got Ann Foster.
Yes.
Who is married to James Melton.
Yes.
But also having an affair with Tom Dula.
Yes.
So this is the triangle. Now, 2 more people come into this in
I see. Okay. All right.
March of 1866.
I just thought I'd missed someone for a second.
And guess what their last names are? More Fosters.
Oh, no.
Tom Dula begins to date Laura Foster.
Oh, God.
Distant cousin of Ann Foster, the she-devil, supposedly.
Right.
And lived a little further away with her dad, Wilson Foster.
Okay.
Now, Laura was depicted mostly as a beautiful girl with chestnut hair, green or blue eyes, and a noticeable gap in her teeth. She, too, was known to have multiple sexual partners.
But she doesn't get described the same way as Anne did.
Oh, you'll find out why.
Okay.
Now, author Paul Slade uses the charming phrase of having, quote, round heels, end quote. And that's an Appalachian term suggesting that she was easy to knock over on her back. Yay. You don't like that, do you? Guest panelist. No. Since Laura Foster is the victim of this story, she is depicted as innocent and virginal. But the truth is, she wasn't. Big whoop. As long as everyone she's in a sexual relationship with is honest, there shouldn't be any problems, right?
Yeah.
Well, Pauline Foster comes into Happy Valley around the 1st of March in 1866 from nearby Watauga County, Tennessee, to visit her grandfather. She's also cousins with Anne and Laura.
Oh, God.
So she begins to work for Anne and James in exchange for pay and lodging. And she happens to meet Tom Dula there.
Oh, okay.
See, Anne wanted Pauline, or pronounced Perline.
Oh, my God, I love it.
As it's pronounced back then, to do a little more than helping in the fields and milking the cow. She wanted Perline to say she was dating Tom.
Okay.
So Tom had an excuse to be around the Melton house all the time.
Oh.
Okay.
Right.
So I think Perline took the job a little too seriously because she too started sleeping with Tom Dula. So if you're keeping score at home,
that's 3 Fosters.
Tom is having sex with Ann Foster Melton, his childhood sweetheart, Laura Foster, the cousin that lives not too far away, and Perline, Ann's distant cousin that came in from Tennessee. So, now who has round heels, right? Now who does? Sorry, I'm talking to our panelists.
No, you and me.
Yes.
I need it.
Yes.
I need it. Sometimes I need baby sound voice to.
Yes. So Tom is very round-heeled. So Tom has round heels out of everybody. His is the roundest because he is sleeping with everybody. Now, the Melton place is a 1-room cabin.
Right.
And a lot of these encounters happened under the Melton roof.
Wow. Was James being knocked out with something in his drink?
So there were 3 beds in the house.
Okay.
James slept alone in one bed. Perline slept in another. And Anne and her daughter, because you remember her daughter's in this, slept in the third. Perline later testified that Tom would come over and he would begin the night sleeping in John's bed. And once John fell asleep, he would get into bed with Anne. And I shudder to think what they got up to with Anne's daughter in the bed with them.
Oh my God. How old is her daughter?
I mean, she's like probably less than 3 years old. I know. Shocking. Yuck. So Perline also testifies to sleeping in bed with Anne and Tom would join them as well. So sometimes Perline would sleep in the bed with Anne and Tom would come in after John had gone to sleep.
How big are these beds?
I don't know. I think this was supposed to be just for sleep, that Anne and Pearline were sharing a bed, and maybe Pearline was just like turning her back to the situation. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
So that's a whole big mess at the Melton household.
I know, it's a lot to remember.
I know, isn't it?
Yeah.
So switching to the Laura Foster household, Laura's dad, Wilson Foster, later testifies to having caught Laura and Tom in bed together in that March as well. Mm-hmm. So he makes house calls. I know.
These people are all behaving not very well.
It must be boring in there. Over there. Well, this might just have been a sexy, fun time if Pearline wasn't harboring a secret. Pearline had syphilis.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Pearline came to Happy Valley not to, quote, visit her grandpa, but to be treated for the pox, as they called it back then, because this was the closest doctor. Dr. George Carter lived in Elks County. And she had contracted the disease in her native Watauga County, and she kept all of this a secret.
Right. Okay.
So she told nobody why she was really coming.
Oh, God.
And that was because she had syphilis and she was getting treated for it. So she showed up approximately around March 1st, and by the end of the month, Tom was visiting Dr. Carter to be treated for the pox, too.
Oh, sweet Lord.
So soon, Anne and Laura and even John are harboring symptoms.
That's just horrifying.
We all had it, Pearline would later testify.
Oh, my God.
Syphilis at the time was treated by something called caustic blue mass.
Oh, that sounds awful.
This didn't cure it, and nothing short of arsenic or mercury would cure it, but we know now that this, of course, is toxic. So until the miracle of penicillin, these were the options. And Tom was furious. He told a neighbor that he would kill the woman who gave it to him, and that woman, he thought, was Laura Foster.
Oh, so he had 3 options, and Laura's for where it came in. Okay, does he? I'm sure you're going to tell me the evidence that
I don't know.
That he thought he had for that.
I would say if I were Pearline and I wanted to point fingers away from myself, I would be like, it's that Laura girl.
Well, yeah.
It doesn't really say, but for some reason, he thinks it's Laura. Now, Anne seems to be equally as mad and told Pearline that she wanted to kill Laura as well.
Oh,
and threatened Pearline to keep her mouth shut about what she had just said. Tom and Anne were observed having hushed conversations over the next month, which leads to the mystery of May 1866.
Okay.
So, here's the timeline. May 13th, Tom tells the neighbor, Rufus Hall, that he was going to, quote, put through the person that gives him the pox. Put through means kill.
Yeah.
May 20th, Tom visits Laura at her place, and they talk for an hour. This was observed by Laura's father. May 23rd, Laura's dad comes home again to find Tom and Laura close together by the fire and chatting. May 24th, Anne tells Pearline that Anne has gotten syphilis from Tom and James has it too. Anne says that she will fool her husband into believing that he gave it to her.
But also, how are you going to fool someone into saying that they have syphilis? That seems...
I don't know. I guess people didn't really know how their own bodies worked back then, so maybe they could believe...
Well, and we're not at a point where you understand the transmission of disease yet,
sure.
Right? They understand STDs, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I completely contradicted myself.
She's a sorceress. Who knows? But somehow, she says she's going to do that.
Yeah.
So Anne also tells Pearline that she's going to kill Laura for giving the pock to them, and then threatens to kill Pearline if she tells anyone. Tom, that day, visits Lottie, if we remember to be Anne's mom, to borrow a mattock. And
we know what that is.
Mattock is a farming tool that looks like a pickaxe. And he says he's going to widen the path between his and her houses so that it would be easier to travel. Okay. Tom also visits the Melton house. So he, after getting done borrowing a mattock, he goes to the Melton house, borrows a canteen, and gets alum for his mouth sores. He then visits his cousin Carson and tells him to fill the canteen that he borrowed with moonshine. And then he leaves. He leaves.
Yeah.
And cousin Carson delivers the moonshine canteen back to Ann Melton's place.
Right.
Tom isn't there, so Anne takes a swig and says she's going to take it to Tom, who's at her mother Lottie's house again.
Right.
Tom and Anne meet at Lottie's house. She gives Tom the canteen, and they both seemingly separate at 3 p.m. on May 24th. But Anne does not come home that night. So,
okay.
May 25th. Anne comes back home the next day at 5:30 a.m. Laura gets up at Laura's house. She gets up before dawn and goes outside, presumably to talk to somebody that we assume to be Tom. Then comes back in, packs a bag, and leaves, taking her dad's horse.
Okay.
Laura runs into Betsy Scott while on the horse, and they have a conversation. And Laura says she's going to meet Tom at the Bates place, which is an old, overgrown blacksmith's property in the middle of the woods.
It's Bates. Anything associated with the Bates surname,
Bates,
just run away.
Not a good idea. Even before even before Psycho.
I mean, this gives maybe Alfred Hitchcock was inspired by this.
Maybe Robert Bloch was like, okay, yeah. So I don't know why they didn't go to the Bates place together that morning, but they decided, Tom and Laura, to split up, and she would go on the horse to the Bates place, and Tom goes his own way, and he sees several people on his way to the Bates place. He met Carl Carlton, and they spoke for about 5 minutes. About what? I don't know. I know. And at 8 a.m., he meets Hezekiah Kendall.
What? The names? Sorry, can we just go back to Carl Carlton?
Carl Carlton.
What possesses people?
So that's the most unoriginal name. Unimaginative.
Yeah.
And then you have the neighbor, Hezekiah Kendall.
Oh my God. Hezekiah.
That's a nice one.
I gotta look up which part of the Bible that one's in.
At 8 a.m., he meets Hezekiah Kendall, and Kendall asks Tom about Laura, asking if he'd, quote, been after the girl, end quote.
Wow. And that's a name, Hezekiah.
Yeah, so I guess Hezekiah knew about it. Tom replied, no, I have quit that. He then goes to James Scott's home, so this is the third place he's gone, and asks James Scott's wife, Celia, where Celia's brother, George Washington Anderson, is.
There's a name. There's some names going on.
He then leaves that place and then arrives back at Ann Melton's house.
Okay.
Pearline observes that Anne and Tom are quietly talking while Anne is still in bed. Tom leaves and goes to Lottie's house. I know. And asks for a gallon of milk and leaves, going towards his home, which is also in the direction of the Bates place.
Right.
And no one can account for Tom Dula between 10 a.m. and noon that day.
Right. But it seems like he's doing that thing where I wonder if he's going places to be seen by
to have lots of alibis.
Lots of alibis.
It might be, yeah. Or that he's just really dumb. Or he forgot. I don't know.
Yep.
So while this is all happening, Wilson Foster, Laura's dad, wakes up to find both Laura and his horse gone, and he tracks them. He was in the middle of shaving the hooves of one of his horses, of that horse that she took, so there was a distinctive hoof print. But
Why would you shave that
I don't know.
horse's hooves?
I guess they're like nails. You gotta file them down.
Well, but it depended if it had shoes on, horseshoes.
Right.
I don't know. Anyway.
So, he tracks, because of the distinctive hoof print, he tracks them to an old field, but then loses track after that. So he then goes to the Melton place. Mm-hmm. Anne was alone in bed that morning, and he talks with her about 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then goes to the other houses around the neighborhood asking about Laura.
Okay.
So we're at noon.
Right.
Tom's mom finds him home, I guess because he lives with his mom.
Yeah. Okay.
And they eat lunch.
Right.
At 3 p.m., Tom's mom, whose name is Mary, goes to milk the cows.
Okay.
At supper time, Tom goes to the barn and stays a while. That evening at dusk, Wilson Foster, Laura's dad, shows back up at the Melton house and attends what sounds like a party.
Okay.
He stays for 2 to 3 hours. Tom Dula was not there.
Uh-huh.
But Anne was there.
Right.
And Anne's brother, Thomas.
Right.
George Washington Anderson, that dude that Tom asked about the last morning. And a guy named Will Holder.
Okay.
So, they drank, and Thomas, Anne's brother, burned off some of Laura's dad's whiskers as a joke.
Oh. That's okay, that's fire very close to your face.
Yeah, Wilson didn't think it was that funny. And he leaves and stays at James Melton's brother's house close by.
Okay.
So while that party is going on, Tom and Tom's mom are having supper. And then Tom leaves, not saying where.
Okay.
And comes back much later.
Right.
Much, much later, like in the middle of the night later.
Oh, right. Okay.
So late that Tom's mom checks in on him in the middle of the night and finds him complaining of aches and chills.
Oh.
And that's where we're going to stop for tonight. Until the next episode. So, we will get into part 2 soon.
I'm so excited to hear.
Just to wrap up really quickly, our social media, you can reach out to us on Instagram. We're at Cormac and Gwen.
Yep.
And on YouTube, you can search Cormac and Gwen and find us there.
Yeah, and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to see you there.
We have the full episodes on YouTube as well.
Yep. And comment and rate and review and all that fun stuff.
That would be great. Yeah, interact with us. We are nice, lovely people that like to have a conversation. And also, as a companion to this, I've included a playlist on Spotify of all the versions of Tom Dooley, including that famous one by the Kingston Trio. Yeah, our guest panelist does not like that version, I don't think.
No.
But it'll have a lot of versions of Tom Dooley on there for you to listen to. So have a listen. You search for Allison Gwen and you'll find it, and it'll be the Tom Dooley playlist. Yeah. And you can give us an email at cormacandgwen@gmail.com.
Yep.
And I think that's it, right?
Yeah. Well done to keeping track of that timeline. That sounds like there's a lot going on.
Oh, there's a lot. Yes. So in the next episode, we'll briefly go over it again, just to warm you back up. But in the meantime, I want you all to be safe.
Yep.
Practice safe sex.
Yes. Please. So you can prevent things like syphilis, which apparently is on the rise.
Oh no!
I've seen statistics
not just
about...
amongst was it koalas that have syphilis?
No, they have chlamydia.
Oh God!
But yeah, koalas have chlamydia. It's a thing. It's a huge issue.
Oh,
it's
no. So yes. Go see your Planned Parenthood to have a better plan than this.
Yep.
And make sure that you don't go down by the river. And if you do, tell someone where you are.
Yes.
And most of all, don't find yourself in some dark holler.